Hello, this is Michael with Diamond Seed Astrology. I've been out of the podcasting and YouTubing scene for a while because I was renovating my house to sell, and that is now completed. I'm now living here in a cabin in the woods of western Massachusetts. So I'm back, and this video is a response to a recent astrology podcast video in which the host was interviewing an author who is very well renowned on the possible sources for the planetary archetypes. Historically, they were discussing where these archetypes may have come from, and there's all sorts of speculation that they came from Sumerian sources, and I can't really argue with any of the things that these people were discussing. The issue that I have really is that the discussion doesn't go into the occult aspects of astrology at all, and it also doesn't enter into any sort of alternative history discussion, because there is far too much limitation placed on the discussion of astrology that just does not allow for all of the various discoveries and expansion of the horizons that have come out of alternative history from people such as Ralph Ellis, and going back to Sigmund Freud and several people before that who have really opened up some radically different ideas of how biblical history is in fact not what we think it is, and that in fact the Bible is very much it can be interpreted entirely as an astrological text. And while I personally do not believe that it is entirely a astrological text and has no historical basis, I think that's completely incorrect. I believe it's working on several different levels, and this is very much in line with what I see ancient authors and ancient people doing. There's a lot of kennings, there's a lot of multiple levels and layers of meaning in ancient texts, and the Bible is perhaps one of the most masterful examples of this. There are subtexts going on in the Bible that one of which can be found, or rather is most clearly explicated by Joseph Atwill in his Caesar's Messiah book, which I recommend to all astrologers and to everybody in general to have a look at that, because it provides a radically different subtext for the Bible and the life of Jesus. And it simply, once you have accepted that this is a possibility and the evidence is enormous, it's very hard to look at history the same way. So while, as I've said, I can't argue with a lot of the, or don't want to argue with a lot of the conclusions that many historians of astrology have reached, that it's these archetypes may come from Sumeria. Yes, they may well have some roots in Sumeria, and I actually completely believe that that's the case. However, there's sort of this idea that like the Greeks may have just like emerged from caves and couldn't tell that there was a difference between the wandering stars, the planets of the so-called solar system, and fixed stars. That would be kind of like not noticing that the moon moves much faster, when all you have, if you were living a couple thousand years ago, we're assuming that there was no entertainment or other source of anything that you could really observe and be in except for nature. There was no television. There was no entertainment. All you had was nature. So it would be really hard to imagine that people couldn't pick out the idea, that pick out the fact that the wandering planets are different and move in different ways than the fixed stars. Just that right there is it's as if people think that the Greeks just like walked out of a cave and they hadn't looked up before and noticed that these bodies move in different ways. That's just really unfortunate that people would entertain those ideas. Okay, so we maybe don't have any evidence that they had recognized the planets as being something different than the fixed stars. But come on, okay, that's silly. And there's a lot of other things about the way so-called scholars like to deal with ancient past, where it just infantilizes our forefathers and our ancestors, and just in ways that are unreasonable. So I will, I'll stop there for now, but I really have to insist that historians of astrology go beyond known texts and just look at the obvious, and then look again at something like Göbekli Tepe, which is this goes back to maybe 8,000, 9,000 BC at least, and there were clear signs of worship or veneration of the stars in Göbekli Tepe. There were totems that very much resemble many of the signs that we know from astrology. So I really appreciate what people are doing in terms of looking at texts, but we really need to look at what's obviously there. If we're just going to look at horoscopic astrology, and many of these scholars do say, that they're trying to expand their horizons to things beyond horoscopic astrology, and that's great. My insistence is that they start to look at a larger context, looking at the Bible without understanding that the precession of the equinoxes was in fact documented in the time of Akhenaten. I think it has to be understood that Akhenaten was attempting to create a new religion for the age of Aries, as the precession of the equinoxes moved into the sign of Aries arising on the eastern sky, moved from Taurus into Aries, and when you see the shepherd kings, the Hyksos, these were the people of the ram. These were people who were trying to bring a new religion, Atonism, to the fore, and to replace the religion of the Ammonists, who were worshippers of the bull, the age of Taurus. So, and then of course we have to accept that Jesus was born a shepherd and became the fisher of men, which of course was a stellar prophecy that was the precession of the equinoxes, that was the movement from the age of Aries into the age of Pisces, and that is an extremely important point. The fact that the church decried the use of astrology after about 1,200 years of actually accepting it to one degree or another, and this can be documented by many places where there were zodiacs on the floor or on the wall of Christian churches. And there were images of Jesus and Mary, both depicted inside of a zodiac. So the fact that the later church did not permit astrology or looked at it as something negative, that was not the case with the original Christianity, which is in fact Pauline or Pauline Christianity, and was radically different than the Christianity of Jesus, which was not Christianity at all. It was fourth sect Nazarene Judaism. So these things are just really important for astrologers to know. Again, I really appreciate what scholars are doing to try and go through all of these texts from the Hellenistic era and beyond, but this is a much larger context that has to be understood. All right, that is my rant for today. Again, this is Michael from Diamond Seed Astrology. I'm at michaelmsuter.com. I'm working on a lot of things right now. It's going rather slowly, but eventually, and hopefully sooner than later, we're going to have a course out, Persephone's Zodiac, and I'm working on a book on astrology and the question of evil. All right, thanks very much.